When I heard the comments made by podcaster, and that's funny, we got to call him a podcaster now because that rap thing didn't quite work out for Joey, did it? Podcaster Joe Budden, who is known for being a problematic ass nigga to fucking begin with, right? Just all around, and has been a problematic nigga for a long fucking time, okay? And it's wild, not surprising, though it is wild, that problematic niggas seem to get platform all the time. And that goes for niggas and broads, okay? There's a lot of fucking problematic bitches out here as well, but this ain't about them today. This ain't about them today. This is about the ways in which rape culture is so normalized. It's so casual. It comes up so easily in casual conversations, particularly around cis hetero males, right? Niggas will sit there and straight tell on themselves, make it very clear that they are rapists, that they themselves are not above snatching the pussy, right? They will tell on themselves. If you just let them talk amongst themselves for long enough, these niggas will tell on themselves. But the thing about Joe Budden is Joe Budden doesn't really have to tell on himself because, again, he's a documented problematic ass motherfucker who seems to keep landing on his feet. Very white of him. It's amazing. But the reason why Joe Budden can be repeatedly accused by a number of ex-girlfriends of not only domestic violence, but just being a weirdo ass nigga in a bunch of different ways generally. And the reason why he can continue to shake off these allegations and keep it pushing is because of whom his victims are, right? Because at the end of the day, society, including the black community at large, doesn't really care if black women get beat on, if black women are sexually assaulted and are raped. You know, that's sort of like, that's a us problem. That's not a community problem. That's a chick problem, right? Because men, or the abusers rather, let me be very specific here because y'all know how I feel about my bruvs who are my bruvs. But when we're talking specifically about abusers are given a very wide berth, right? And it's usually a very long time, if ever, when the shit catches up to them and they are facing some kind of either public reckoning or some actual accountability, which I do not expect in this case of Joe Budden. So let me bring y'all up to speed. And let me play the clip. And I apologize again. I'm very bad at giving the trigger warnings before I start talking about traumatic shit. And I did give the trigger warning at the beginning of the show, but let me re-up on the trigger warning. This is about sexual assault. This is about rape. And it's about something called stealthing. Now, I'm sure the Fire Fam is well informed about the practice of stealthing, but let me just give a very quick definition. And come to find out that stealthing, it has a bit of a more expanded definition than I thought, but how it applies to Joe Budden. So Joe Budden on his podcast, I think it was last week, and we're about to hear the comments. So trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. But he's going to very casually make a joke about stealthing. Now, stealthing is when a man pretends or gives his partner the impression that he has put on a condom prior to sexual intercourse, but did not put on a condom, right? And guys, when you do that, you rob people of their choice and of their autonomy. And this is not just an issue that happens to women. It happens to anyone that has sex with men, right? And when we come out of this clip, and we will talk about the ways in which potentially women can stealth too, but I want us to be specific here when talking about Joe Budden's comments, because this is a very accepted and normalized thing amongst some sections of cis hetero men. I can't even point the fingers exclusively at black men. This is a man fucking problem here. And I hate that Joe Budden is admitting about this shit and laughing about this shit. So again, trigger warning, trigger warning. Let's listen to the clip of the Joe Budden podcast.
What? I have no idea knowing. Joe, you do the... And even I done walked in the corner and faked like I was putting a condom on before. It be working.
What?
They're none the wiser. What do you mean what? Yes, I did that.
You faked the put
1,000%. That was my poor.
You did that too? I'm asking.
That was my poor execution of my plan after I mastered it, which was to just bust through the lambskin. Let me go find.
I don't know if I ever used a lambskin.
Let me go find the thinnest condom in the world.
You mastered doing that?
Huh?
Bust through it?
Yeah.
You planned to bust?
Yeah, I'm not having it. Wait,
Yo, what? Oh man, this guy. Yo, you're a sicko for real, yo.
No, I used to be.
Oh, okay.
Please don't.
One time for growth.
Please don't misrepresent me.
Isn't that funny? The nigga just sat there and told on himself and then gonna come back and say, please don't misrepresent me. Nigga, who told you to open up your fucking crusty ass lips and admit and laugh and kiki and hee and ha ha about truly something that is a sexual assault violation? In some states, stealthing is a criminal offense. In a lot of states, you can actually, the victim that is, could potentially sue their perpetrator for civil damages as a result of stealthing. And let's be clear. So what are the consequences of stealthing? Well, you don't allow the partner a decision about whether or not they want to have consensual unprotected sex. Okay. Now what can happen? Come on now. 8th grade. What happens with unprotected sex? You could experience an unwanted pregnancy. You could catch a sexually transmitted infection. Either way, both parties need to be on the same page when it comes to using contraception or trying to use something that prevents the transmission of sexually transmitted infections, right? And so when Joe Budden very casually laughs, and all his homeboys laughing, hilarious, the shit is funny, ha 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 ha. Hey man, I don't even know how many bitches I done fake putting on the condom for a dog. Ha 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 ha. Do you understand how sick these motherfuckers are? Do you understand how me, and I'm sure a lot of y'all as Gen X and millennial women and non-binaries and fucking everybody else, you know how fucking goddamn disappointing, unsurprising, but disappointing nonetheless to hear Joe Budden at his big fucking age have a laugh about that shit and say, nah, I ain't a sicko. That's what I used to do. But you still find this behavior comical. This is entertaining to you. Like you like to recount the ways in which you took away a woman's consent about whether or not she wanted to have unprotected sex with you. And let's be clear. Joe Budden, again, like I said, at the onset, has a very documented history of being an abuser. Ex-girlfriends, Esther Baxter, Tahiri, Sin Santana, all made allegations that he abused them. One of them even said that he beat her so bad that she ended up having a miscarriage. Okay. Joe Biden, I keep wanting to call him Joe Biden, and you guys can very easily see how I can make that Freudian slip considering the topic, right? But Joe Budden, then he had another girlfriend, a very pretty Puerto Rican girl, and I can't remember her name, but she was like teaching twerk or something. And I remember when I used to follow him on social media, this is many years ago, he used to post pictures of her asleep, which I used to think was weird and fucked up. He would post pictures of her while she was sleeping and then make comments about her sexual prowess and her body. But he's posting pictures of her sleeping to everybody on the internet. And I said this once before, and I still mean it, that I can only speak for myself here. But some Generation X men are fucking barbarians. Barbarians. To listen to Joe Budden, he sounds like the fucking rapey ass niggas that I knew in my teens and early adulthood, who would laugh about spiking girls' drinks, who would laugh about taking advantage of girls who were too drunk to consent or too high to consent. They would just laugh about the shit, you know, because them's the breaks, bitch. I guess you shouldn't have got drunk, huh? That pussy right there to be took. I'm going to take it. Okay, that's the mentality of a lot of I can't say the majority or even some or whatever, but a not insignificant amount of men in my generation and age demographic thought that way absolutely as younger men. Now, I hate the rebrand that these niggas is middle age now and all of a sudden they girl dads and shit. But I like the fact that Joe Budden is staying consistent. Thank you for continuing to remind us that just because some of you fucking rapey pieces of shits get older, that y'all motherfuckers don't get no goddamn wiser. You don't get no wiser. It's about if you heard back what he said in his statement. He was like, yeah, it's part of my master plan. I go off in the corner and sneak put on a condom. It was part of my plan. Why the fuck are you niggas always trying to run some goddamn game? Why is it that y'all are always, not y'all, not my bruvs, obviously, but I'm talking about the problematic ain't shit niggas like Joe Budden. Why the fuck are you niggas always trying to get over on a chick? Like, why the fuck can't y'all come as adults, as at your big fucking age, adults, and have a conversation and make sure that boundaries are established and that everybody is consenting to the same thing? You motherfuckers always want to try to get over on somebody, man. You always want to try to sneak one in. Oh, I had to sneak, I snuck like I put on the condom. I snuck like I pull out. I snuck. Nigga, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Shout out to Lady Alex. Shout out to the super chat. Dearest Lady Alex says, I appreciate you, Kim. You're a brilliant, badass, peace and justice fighter. Thank you for that, Lady Alex. That is very kind and generous for you to say. I am tired, everybody. What I'm tired, and let me just be clear here. The exhaustion that I feel when it comes to rape and sexual assault, I feel as though is a generational exhaustion, much in the ways that Black people are exhausted by fucking racism all the time. As a woman, I feel exhausted of having to make sure that my sexual autonomy is being acknowledged, that I am acknowledged as an actual human who has a right to say yes and no in the context of sexual transactions, basically, sexual transactions. Yeah, let me stick with that. I hate that this is still having to be negotiated with men and then by extension with boys for the younger girls, right? Imagine if Joe Budden is somebody's father. But the fact of the matter is he's a bunch of motherfuckers' fathers, because there's a lot of young men out here, really across racial lines. I can't even point the finger at young Black men, because these young white men are out here wayward and lost in the woods as a motherfucker too. But people like Joe Biden and Kevin Samuels and all these fucking goofy ass niggas with big platforms in the manosphere, these niggas is literally raising a generation of younger men that are listening to them and listening to them kiki about denying their sexual partner's consent and thinking that shit is okay and thinking that shit is funny. Okay? We'll pop up Joe Budden's fucking bullshit ass Instagram reaction, because he hasn't said too much, okay? Because what happened was, that podcast episode, from what I understand, got uploaded, and it either got, that excerpt that we just heard either got edited out, or these niggas recorded a whole new podcast. But I don't think that episode, as including that section that we just heard, I don't think that is alive anymore on Joe Budden's podcast. And this is what he said on Instagram in response to someone righteously collecting his funky ass about that bullshit he was laughing about. Joe Budden says, y'all really want all Black men in jail, LOL. Oh, it's funny now, huh? I guess somebody informed you that stealthing is a criminal act. Oh, you didn't know that before, huh? Or I guess you didn't fucking care. Well, niggas know that rape is a criminal act. I assure you, it does not stop the rapist from fucking raping, right? This notion about y'all want all Black men in jail, blah, blah, blah. No, what we want you niggas to stop thinking that rape is a fucking joke. We want you niggas to stop thinking that sexual assault is a fucking joke, because it's real fucked up that these niggas can see that shit and about issues of consent and autonomy, they can see that shit very clearly through the eyes of their daughters, right? And through the eyes of people, people connected to them, usually familially, right? But the girl with the big butt walking down the street, if she consent or if she don't, you know what I'm saying? That's all that matters. Like they don't recognize, like, all women are not the same to them. Like some women are deserving of respect and some women aren't. And they don't have a problem engaging in either relationships or sexual relationships with women they actually do not respect, right? Because that is the patriarchy right there. That is men making the ultimate decision about whether or not a sex act is protected. Now, let me just point out, because I think it's right to do so, not in the interest of fairness per se, but let me just acknowledge this, because, all the definitions that I was looking up regarding stealthing, they all centered it from the perspective of the man, right? It's about when a man does not inform his partner that he is not going to put on a condom. I actually read one place that said that women can do stealthing as well. Stealthing in the form of perhaps poking a hole in a condom or telling a man that they are on birth control when they are not. And I see those things as similar, but definitely not the same. They are definitely not the same, because in the instance in which a woman, the examples that I just gave, in the instances in which a woman could potentially stealth a man, that is all about pregnancy, right? And in a man's decision as to whether or not, to engage in sexual contact or sexual activity that could result in a pregnancy. So if a woman tells a man that she's on birth control and she's not, or a woman pokes a hole in a condom in order to get them sperms, that is taking away a man's consent, right? But for the woman, it's a little bit more complex, because it involves not only contraception, to prevent pregnancy, but sexually transmitted disease as well. A man knows when he's sticking his wee wee in the freeway, right? He knows when he going in with no helmet on, right? But a woman may not be able to discern that sensation from her vantage point, right? So it is extremely fucked up. And let me be clear here. Let's be fucking clear. If you think anything's going to happen to Joe Budden because he admitted to basically a criminal act of sexual assault, think again. Think again. Because if the nigga didn't get in no quote unquote trouble, I don't think he faced any criminal charges behind any of those domestic violence allegations from his former his former girlfriends. And as you see, he is a very successful and influential podcaster. So it's amazing to me that, not amazing, let me rephrase, not amazing. It's amazing, but unsurprising, that people are well aware of Joe Budden's history, and yet his platform is as large as it is. And that, to me, comes down to the fact that at the end of the day, abusers are not shunned from society. There is no cancel culture that is universally applicable to people who have been accused of abuse, domestic violence or sexual abuse or otherwise, right? It is not everybody gets canceled, right? There's a lot of evidence. Sometimes multiple people have to come forward over the course of many years in order for the court of public opinion to finally accept the truths about said abusive, shitty person. In this case, Joe Budden. Joe Budden admitted to a criminal act. And from what I can gather, it sounded like he admitted to doing it a number of times. It sounded like it was part of his normal practice. He don't like to wear condoms. Why should he be made to wear a condom if he doesn't want to? He could just go put one on in the corner and come back and raw dog and his partner not know the difference. What's wrong with that? Cancel culture isn't real. If Joe Budden gets canceled, I will, I'll do something outrageous. I really will. And by canceled, I mean lose his fucking podcast. If Spotify were to yank his shit because a fucking confessed sexual abuser admitted to criminal sexual acts, I will do something extreme. I really will. And that's because I really don't think it's going to happen, because cancel culture is not a thing. It does not work It does not work. And the reason it doesn't work, and it does not work in some instances, in every instance in which the victims are Black women, that cancel culture shit is it ever coming? And if it does come, it's coming way fucking late. Way, way late. Everybody want to point their fingers at R. Kelly and Bill Cosby. Do you understand literally the number of decades these motherfuckers was out here raping and abusing women? Decades before anything happened, okay? Anything happened. And it's wild to me. I saw some reaction from some of Joe Budden's, I guess, listeners, and they were like, oh, well, now if something happened to Joe, or y'all want to listen to the podcast all watered down, or y'all don't want to listen to it real. This is what a lot of people need to accept. A lot of them really are fanboys and girls of abusers. Just say that. Just say that if a man is beating his partner, if a man is operating deceptively regarding sex and consent and all that, just say that's okay with you. Just say you're not bothered by motherfuckers who don't try to secure enthusiastic consent on all fronts from their partners. Just say you don't mind if a man has to smack around his partner, his woman partner from time to time, or if he has to beat her and she has a miscarriage. Just say that doesn't bother you. I would rather hear that. Don't be like, oh, we don't want the podcast watered down. Just say, I would like to listen to my abuser, to my favorite podcasting abuser, in peace. Just say that. Just say, I love listening to the perspectives of abusers. I love to hear abusers and rapers laugh about their abusive and rapey exploits. That's what I find entertainment in. I love listening to abusers. Just be honest with yourself, okay? Be honest with yourself. And again, I'm so disheartened that so many young men tune into Joe Budden. So many men look at Joe Budden. They look at the desirability of his partners. They look at his financial success and his, where he's managed to and what he's managed to accomplish as a podcaster. They look at that and as aspirational. And if Joe Budden had to beat a few bitches and sexually assault a few bitches to get there, hey, that's the cost of doing business. And tragically, that is the ways a lot of men view society, right? Victimizing women, either in their youth or throughout their adult lives, victimizing women, how else are they supposed to learn and grow? How else are they supposed to learn and grow? That's like the American male rite of passage. It's unspoken, but it is understood across us all, is it not? Like, men get to rape and sexual assault, and then they get to come back and say, wow, I didn't know. I didn't know about consent. I didn't know. You fucking knew. You fucking knew. You knew in 2022. You knew in 2002. You knew in 1990 motherfucking 2, you dick. You knew the whole goddamn time, but there was no accountability for it. There was no public condemnation for it. There was no public shaming in it, right? The onus was all on women. If women were sexually assaulted or raped, that was very much a us problem. Well, you should have been out late at night. You shouldn't have been drinking. Shouldn't have been smoking. Shouldn't have had on them little shorts. Should have put some drawers on. I mean, I can't even get into all the ways in which women's behavior, and the ways that women are held accountable literally in every aspect, but men get to learn and grow through rape and sexual assault. Suck my fucking dick. So let me say this. Joe Biden, I did it again. Same difference. Different generation, different color. But ironically, the similarities, basically, but you see how sexual assault is basically a rite of passage, right? Doesn't matter the age, race, of the man, socioeconomic status, don't matter. They all get to do some unwanted groping and touching and sexual assaulting and all of that. It's a rite of passage. It is what's owed to them, right? And you bitches who get assaulted, well, shoulda. You shoulda. But let me say this about Joe Budden, and then I'm gonna move on, because I hate to say this, and I really do. And when I look at the demographics of this channel, sometimes I'm glad that we don't have a lot of young women watching, because sometimes I could be a little pessimistic about the future. But it's just because of what I have observed in my years here. But I hate this. But I really don't think that rape culture is going away, not anytime soon. I think that we are at still the precipice of being able to talk openly about rape and sexual assault, what it means, who abusers are, what positions they hold in society, who victims are, what positions they hold in society. I think we're still very much at the onset of these conversations turning into something more, I hope, will result in a deeper societal change. But when I hear Joe Budden, again, at his big fucking age, I don't even know how old Joe Budden is. I'm guessing he's not that much older than me, right? When I hear a nigga like that, who was probably in my high school age range, college age range, and at his big fucking age, still laughing about that shit, I just think about all the motherfuckers exactly like him who have sons, who are teenagers, young adults, and they have these conversations and consent never comes up. You know, the fathers want to try to figure out how much pussy is the son getting. All the father's concerned about, don't be out here knocking them girls knocking them up, but fuck as many of them as you can manage, son. I know very much still that young men are getting these pussy hound messages, and it makes me sick. It makes me absolutely heartbroken for young women who have to deal with these little barbarians that their older father barbarians have born onto us, who ain't never had a conversation with their son about consent, about enthusiastic consent, about anything. And it is important when these little cultural opportunities to bring these conversations up happen. We have to take advantage of them. It's not about celebrity. God, you know, I don't give a goddamn about what the fuck Joe Budden is doing. But the messages that he's out here sending to legions of impressionable young men and women, fuck that nigga, fuck that bitch ass nigga, you fucking rapey piece of shit, you fucking stealing the pussy ass nigga. Niggas like you, I hope you burn, I hope you rot. I hope every single woman that has been harmed by you comes out to point and name and shame you specifically. And I hope I don't wish anything good for abusers or rapers. So you can imagine what in the hell I'm wishing for Joe Budden. Fire upon them. Okay, well, okay. It is a little late in the hour, which is good. And I'm going to leave us off with some good news. But in a moment, just real quick, everybody hit the like, hit the thumbs up. Girls and guys, this shit just makes me so fucking mad. I swear to God, it just makes me so goddamn mad. These niggas are going to be in the fucking nursing home talking about all the pussy they used to steal. You understand? Like, it's like, is there any hope? Is there any hope? And again, y'all, anyway, did they talk about this on the remix this morning? I need to go back and look at the remix, because this is what I really want. This is what I really want. I want to watch a all male conversation about this shit. I really do. And you know what? I really want you niggas to start punching these fucking rapey niggas in the face. You think I'm kidding? It sounds hilarious when I say it. I understand that. I mean it. I mean that shit. I mean it. Because the only thing men understand is violence and money, okay? And abusers deserve no money, so I think they deserve a lot of violence. I think once you start raining violence upon them, they will get the goddamn message. Ugh! Make me so fucking sick. You see what I'm